Those who know me, and maybe even don't know me that well, but are just familiar with some of the content that I offer as part of the Eco-Psychology Initiative, probably won't be surprised by some of the following things about me. I love the seasons and the beautiful gifts and blessings that come from each time of year, and I treasure them all. I really treasure and love winter solstice and the coming arrival of light and this time of change and transition. It's also true that the time of year around winter solstice can be really challenging for me, both leading up to it and shortly thereafter. And that's because where I live in Maine, it's dark by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, not to mention and excluding this beautiful snow and sunlight, which makes everything better. Normally, this time of year is often rather bare and cold. And did I mention dark? Because it is. And so it can get to me and weigh down my spirits. So I really have to make an effort to keep my spirits and my attention up. And so that ties into something else about me that's certainly true this time of year, but it's true more generally as well, which is I'm continually looking for inspiration around me, for better ways that I can act and think about things, approach my life. And that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for eco-psychology, is that not only is it a core part of my professional life, but it has been influential and such a gift for my personal life since as long as I can remember. And in particular, it's this term I've come up with called psychological biomimicry, looking at the core principles, teachings, lessons, qualities that characterize the natural world, and then how can we psychologically integrate these into our lives. And I found that this is so transformative and helpful at most any time of year. And so I recently had some inspiration that ties into psychospiritual biomimicry and was brought to me by a beloved EPI community member, a treasured elder, a woman named Carroll. Many of you might be familiar with her because she, luckily for us, participates in a number of our programs. This happened to be a program of hers that was based on a book that she recently wrote, Reading in the Dark. And to start this event, she shared the story of a man named Malidoma from the Dagara tribe in West Africa, who's been a very influential spiritual teacher and writer, sadly just passed this year. But in this story, Somé shares how at a young age he was taken to a Jesuit school and quickly acquired a lot of learning and knowledge. He was very bright and precocious, so picked up things very quickly. And it comes to happen that at some point he ends up going back to his tribe while he was still young. And they also recognize his intelligence and his aptitude and all the learning and book smarts that he picked up. But they said, despite all of this, you're missing something just as important, maybe if not more so. And that's your ability to see in the dark. And Anne goes on to share that likely they were talking both about the literal ability to see in the dark, but the psychospiritual one as well, and just how important this is. We know from the natural world that darkness and night and shadow plays a really critical role in our planet and in ecology. Many plants and animals, ecosystems and organisms depend on the nighttime, not to mention the season of darkness, which is late autumn and early fall. And so, unfortunately, as Anne points out, that so many of us individually as well as a culture have lost contact in relationship with the darkness and the shadow. We have fallen out of balance. More often than not, we try and light things up or get rid of the darkness and the shadow, eliminate it, cast it away, avoid it, deny it, find a way to bypass or distract ourselves from it. And this likely explains a lot of the problems that we see in the world. Yes, individually and collectively, but certainly planetarily, is that we've lost connection to the whole and to the balance and to the relationships with things and qualities like darkness and shadow. And so hearing Anne talk, I had two different responses. One, I was feeling a little bit humbled because the truth is being in relationship with the darkness and shadow is a core part of psychological biomimicry. And I was humbled listening to Anne to realize that I've kind of fallen out of balance with that I've lost my way a little bit. And so, especially given that it's part of our toolkit that we offer in our programs, like I said, I was a little humbled. And yet the other part of that is that I was really grateful and inspired, because I think that's going to be my theme moving forward as we move into solstice and in the coming winter times. I want to lean into the dark. And this is true literally. I want to spend more time outside at night with the stars and the moon and the night sky, without headlamps, without outdoor yard lights. I want to spend more time in the darkness inside on my meditation cushion or practicing yoga. And when I do need light, I want to avoid the tendency to turn it as bright as possible possible and then get familiar and more comfortable with darker shades and hues of light. But my desire to connect with shadow is also true psychologically and spiritually. I want to deepen and lean into the areas of my life that are edgy and uncomfortable, that I have aversion and judgment, contraction, all the many responses that I, maybe like you, can have towards areas of my life that are shadowy and uncomfortable, because I realize just how important it is. Not only is darkness and shadow important ecologically for the whole, but it's true psychologically that we're in balance and healthy relationship with this. Because if we don't, as we see in the world around us and probably also in our own lives, that shadow and darkness cannot be gotten rid of. And rather, it comes out in unproductive, unconscious, and really messy ways and explains a lot of the suffering and struggles that our world is facing right now. And so rather, I want to lean into it and find the beauty and the gifts and the teachings and the lessons and see how transformative that can be. Because I know that engaging our shadow is crucial for healing and health and balance and all the things that I know I want and I think that our world is needing as well. So I'm feeling inspired to lean into the dark as we start and venture into solstice. Last year at this time of year, I shared inspiration to lean into the light, which was based on a song by Carrie Newcomer, and it was great and served me then. This year, like I said, I want to do it a little bit differently, the both and. I will still be super excited when we hit solstice and the days get a little bit longer. I'm not sure it'll be that much warmer yet, but at minimum, there'll be more daylight. And so I celebrate that, and I want to celebrate the shadow and the darkness and find as much as I can learn about that and embrace all its beauty and gifts. And so I hope you find solstice to be a very meaningful celebration for you. I hope you lean into the dark in whatever ways that feels pertinent and appropriate. And if you're interested in engaging this subject more and in deeper ways, I hope you'll venture into some of our programming that we're offering. Psychological biomimicry is the seasonal focus here at the Ecopsychology Initiative. We have an upcoming free Fireside chat on January 8th that's looking at regeneration. And then we have a 7-module immersion training that's going to go really deep and comprehensively into a whole set of principles and teachings and qualities that comprise this toolkit that we have. And we're going to show you how simply and easily you can integrate these into your lives so that it can feel really empowered and seamless for very meaningful results, not only for you, but to be part of the changes and transformations that we want in the world around us. Because I really believe that connecting with the planet, both experientially, but also its teachings and lessons, is really the path forward. It's why the tagline at EPI and the title of our upcoming training is Nature Knows the Way. And so not only will you, as part of this upcoming training and our fireside chats and all our programmings, find hopefully really practical teachings and practices that you're given, but you also find community and connection and conversation with people like Carroll and many others who are similarly inspiring. So they help us see our blind spots. They help us remember and realize things that maybe we've forgotten, or maybe it's new ideas and insights that we hadn't thought of before, all that can help us better engage our lives and live in a more positive way as part of the healing and the health and the change that we're wanting for our world. So happy solstice. May you lean into the dark, and remember, nature knows the way.